After years apart, the two childhood friends finally meet again. The last time they saw one another, they were teenagers. But what should have been a celebratory moment for our two main protagonists took an unpredicted turn. Matahachi was crying while drinking all night and kept loudly congratulating his childhood friend on his exploits. He then at some point threw his cup at him, which led them to being thrown out, and his actions kept escalating until he hit the final straw by insulting their mutual childhood friend, whom Musashi loved, and was met by a very deserved punch to the face by him. If you haven't read Vagabond, the missing context here is that Matahachi was constantly exposed to hearing about Musashi's exploits in the city before they met. That which contrasted with his own unwavering cowardly actions, and on top of that, he had to end up with a beat-up, swollen face just before they met. Having this context in mind, we might then find his actions not so weird after all. Comparing ourselves to how our friends do in life and feeling jealousy, envy, and competitiveness are only natural emotions for us. But that isn't the point I'm trying to make. There happens to be a deeper, neglected, and to my taste, more important truth here, which is that Matahachi on that day didn't meet his childhood friend, but instead met himself. Or, to be more precise, he met a version of himself. Now, I know that sounds like a whole lot of nothing right now, but let me explain. To Matahachi, on their reunion, Musashi was only ever a reflection of his own actions or lack thereof, and that is how he saw him, acted towards him when they met again. Musashi, in his own eyes, was a man that was confused by the world and his own self, and was trying to figure out a path to understand himself and the world. And to him, Matahachi was one of the few people in his life that he had a genuine friendship with and cared for. But this Musashi wasn't the Musashi in Matahachi's eyes. Matahachi saw only a giant statue of crushing judgment looking down on him, which was his own projection about his insecurities and shortcomings as an individual. Musashi is not Musashi, a person with his own struggles, shortcomings, vulnerabilities, from Matahachi's perspective, but just something he uses to judge himself with. And his weird actions towards Musashi didn't match who Musashi really was. This rift in perception, in reality, Musashi, upon reflection, noticed that. He knew Matahachi wasn't really seeing him, but instead made a version of him in his own mind, and came to understand that he probably does the same thing to Otsu, the woman he loved. He creates an image of her in his mind that is constructed by himself and doesn't truly match who Otsu truly is. As do we all, don't we? We create reductive images of others that fit our own interest in our mind. That thought made Musashi realize something. Carl Jung said, loneliness does not come from having no people around us, but from being unable to communicate the things that seem important to oneself. One of the most primal drives of the human animal is the all-too-human need to be understood. I could even argue that a gargantuan portion of all the fighting in the world could be remedied by a true understanding of our opposing sides. And although we do not truly openly know or admit this, the way we conduct ourselves in nearly all areas of our lives can in part be traced back along its hidden depths to a need to be understood, not only by others but by ourselves. That's why the songwriter writes his songs and why we listen to them. That's why the filmmaker makes movies and why they make us cry. Which begs the question, can we ever be truly understood by anyone? Which I will answer by asking you another question. What do you see? I mean, really, what is reflected back into you when you see what's outside yourself? Do you see the world? And if you do, what does it look like? Is it the same world that I see? And if it is, why do we fight then? What do we ever truly disagree about if we all can really see? Why do we come to different conclusions about what there is? The answer to this seemingly complex problem is quite simple. we do not really see the world. You could even say that there is as many words as there are people. We might then feel the need to ask, what causes that rift between us? What happens so as we cannot share the same vision? And in that question, we get the revelation of a terrifying answer. The world reflects ourselves back to us. We can only ever really see ourselves. Although that kind of sounds true, what does that truly mean tangibly? Well, we happen to project ourselves outward constantly. Every second that breath fills and leaves our lungs, you project an image of yourself outward. An image that is filtered through your emotions, your body, your beliefs, your past, your memories, your circumstances, your insecurities, your sensitivities, your areas of heightened awareness and lack of, along with a billion other unconscious processes. They all collide at each instant to try and form the most understandable, useful idea about what the outside world is to you. So, whatever you're seeing right now at this moment, everything that makes your reality what it is only a specially catered image of the world to you. And if you want a real example of that, just think about what the world looked like to you 10 years ago, how utterly different it was to what it is now, or how about how the world looked to you an hour ago? Every slight change in you, in even something as insignificant as your mood, reframes the world to fit that version of you. Don't you think that's fucking insane? This weird matrixy mind fuckery all stems out of one thing. You're primed to filter the world so as you can see objects and tools in relationship to how useful they are to you. But what is in the world besides objects and tools? People. Shitload of them. All with the same biased programming as you. And let me tell you, there is no special feature in our programming that holds itself to give us a true sight of people. Just the same as we project ourselves outward to see the world, we also project ourselves outward to see others. So, you have never truly seen anyone. Even better, you have only ever seen yourself reflected through others. Whenever you think you're seeing a person, even your most loved ones, you could only ever see them through the reactions they cause in you. The only perception you've ever had and could ever have is your own. And so does everyone else. We can never truly see anyone besides ourselves. We are stuck in this world that we are constantly projecting outward. And we try to make others see the world we see, or see us through that world. But all they can never do is see us from their own world. And all we can never do is see them from our own world. We can never truly understand another human being completely. We can never truly completely know how they feel. And nor can anyone ever do the same for us. We truly are all alone in this world. But yet, despite the cruel nature of this truth, we have an ability that makes us to a small extent remedy that. Through some inexplicable, almost magical process, we can leave our words, our prisons, and go to transient spaces that form in between people. And in those places, our loneliness, our feelings of isolation temporarily fade away. We can feel connected to another person. We can somehow make a bridge between our worlds and another's. And although feeling connected to others is in most cases quite a fleeting thing, because of our ever-shifting and evolving nature, it doesn't stop it from being perhaps the greatest remedy for the human soul.